Welcome back, it's time for more Trench Crusade. Finally, we're going to carry on going through the Lore Primer. Don't worry, it's only been a few weeks since the last episode after all. What happened? Why has it been this long? I don't know. Last time we ended on some Heretic stuff just before we were going to start having a look at the Heretic Death Commandos, so we're going to pick up from there. There we are, Heretic Death Commandos. Lovely. Just get the old glasses on. Perfect. So, from a very early age, a select group of heretic youth are sent beyond the gates of hell to be raised as Death Commandos. The heretic youth. Good lord. Few are chosen, few are returned, but those who complete their training and stand amongst the most elite of the heretic legions. Barracked in the 7th Circle of Inferno, they are taught the deadly arts of assassination by the damned souls of the greatest killers and murderers whose souls now reside in hell. Now, that, in a way, that feels like cheating. I know it sounds weird, it feels like cheating, which obviously works for hell, but hell has got all of the worst people. All of the mass killers, all of the proper wrong-uns, presumably, end up in hell. I mean, they've just got an infinite wellspring of knowledge on how to be a terrible, terrible person who can also use knives. That's not great for, well, anyone who isn't affiliated with hell, basically. Here they undergo brutal training, mastering the use of all manner of weapons and poisons, and they are schooled in martial skills by the personal guard of the archdevil Beleth. They learn to slither as serpents through the battlefield, leaving murder in their wake. Their specially forged Tartarus claws are quenched in the waters of the river Styx, a source of poison more potent than any mortal venom, clearly. Many carry silenced pistols to take down targets unseen and unheard. This has rapidly become one of my favourite things about this setting. So we have the Death Commandos, trained from a young age by the spirits of murderers, killers, absolute wrong-uns all the way round. They have bathed their weapons in the river Styx. The river Styx, mind you. Also, they've got a silenced pistol. It's just the contrast. The contrast is absolutely mad. It's just properly mad. It's like going, okay, here we have a 25-foot tall warrior. They have been sent directly from heaven. Do not pass go, do not collect £200. They have been given armaments forged personally by God. Plus, they've got a spare hand grenade. What are you talking about? It's brilliant, and I love it, but it's just... I love that detail. They've also got a silenced pistol. I mean, you do need one. If you're being stealthy, trying to kill people quietly, having a silenced pistol, very sensible, but... it makes me laugh. Aside from their weapons, the Death Commandos are equipped with stealth generators that operate by diffracting light, utilising the heart of an innocent, obviously, and infernal technologies that hide them from the eyes of God. But we've got to remember, silenced pistol. Once their training is complete, the Death Commandos emerge from the abyss as silent spectres of carnage. Of the heretic troops fighting in the trenches of the Great War, the Death Commandos are the most feared by the faithful. I mean, that's totally fair. Most infamous in the ranks are 3 master Death Commandos, Cain, Barabbas and Hammon. I recognise 2 of those names, as I'm sure you do as well. The last one, not sure of that one, but that'd be worth looking up later, who simultaneously assassinated the Supreme Pontiff, the High Prophetess Aela? Sure, and the Holy Roman Emperor in the year 1894. Oh god. This threw church forces into turmoil and allowed the heretic legions to launch a lightning offensive across the Levant and Europe. The tongues of the Death Commandos are ceremonially ripped out at the end of their training. Harsh, but I think I get it. They will never speak of what they have learned, and their unnerving silence adds to their sinister reputation. They communicate with each other with a complex system of inscrutable hand signals. If you've got no tongue, does that mean you can make no noise, or would that require removing the vocal cords? Or if you rip one out, does the other one go? Because obviously them being silent, very thematic, very fun, but surely even if you've got no tongue, you can still like moan at people, or give a little kind of sort of noise. I realise that's got nothing to do with anything, but I just like the idea that they do the tongue removal, one of them gets a bit excited, gives out a little weird noise, and everyone's like, that shouldn't happen. We're not sure what happened there. That Death Commando is somehow even weirder than the other ones. I mean, terrifying, and just overall really weird in the best ways. Properly scary, but with those little fun details that really anchor it to the Trench Crusade universe. I'm never going to get over the silenced pistol. We are no longer supplicating weaklings trembling before an unmerciful god. We say, blessed are the mighty-minded, for they shall ride the whirlwinds. There is one of the Death Commandos, and yeah, it's some of the best art. I mean, that's really, actually, no, that's not fair. All of the art is some of the best art. I feel like saying that puts it on a level above, like, other stuff, but consistently, Trench Crusade has got absolutely insanely good art from start to finish. Like, everything is just super high quality. There is an extremely, clear vision as well with it all, so maybe an unfair statement, but also a compliment at the same time. However that works. I do like the kind of stealth generator thing on the back of the armour. Also, they are, human, or at least they are suggested to be, starting out from humans, but there is a very sort of animalistic kind of hint to the helmet there, which is kind of fun. Yeah, overall, pretty cool. I can't see his pistol, though. Must be on the other side of the other side of the armour. Right, the Heretic Chorister. Oh, here we go. From a young age, there seems to be a running theme with the heretic stuff. I say that. From a young age, all heretics are taught that God Tyrant YHWH demands obedience. Do you pronounce it like that, or do you do the Yahweh? Is it that? Which way round is it? I've never had to say that out loud before. Or at least not in that way, whatever. But there are always brave souls who chafe at the yoke of divine oppression. In their bitter rage, these dauntless ones commit a form of ritual suicide to spit in the despot's eye, knowing they have not the strength to injure him apart from this little rebellion. Oh, man. That is a level of anger. That's a significant level of anger. You ever been so annoyed with someone that you apparently off yourself just to spite them? That's extreme. That is really extreme. I don't know why, but it's just suddenly reminded me of it's one of the fairy tales where it's Rumpelstiltskin. There is an ending to that story, that fairy tale Rumpelstiltskin, where he gets so angry, he stamps on the floor, gets his foot caught in the floorboards, and then rips himself in half. That is extreme. That is extreme anger and upset. Suicide is a mortal sin, and sacrificing yourself to the glory of hell is yet a greater affront to God. Obviously, some heretics born with the gift of sonorous voice but little prospect of rising through the ranks, those possessing a determination to excel, nevertheless, may pursue the dark path of becoming a chorister. Such supplicants go to one of the black altars of heretic abodes at the bottom of the deep inverted pyramid temples dedicated to the greatest of archdevils. There they are dressed in the robes of dark devotion, lie on the altar, and mutilate themselves to death by carving unholy runes into their flesh. Lovely. Brilliant. The more wounds they can suffer before perishing, the more pleasing it is said their offering is. The most devout slice their own throats, trying to cut as deep as they can before their miserable life leaves them. It's just a bit sad, isn't it? It's weirdly depressing, the choristers. Most such wretches go to their doom in the lake of fire, but some are reborn as choristers after 9 days. Their corpses lurch back to their feet and finish their grisly beheading, and lift their severed heads that begin to sing hymns they have learned in the inferno. Oh my god. From their self-inflicted wounds spurts cold blood that forms diabolic symbols and changes to match the words of their unholy choral. They head towards the front lines driven by a call no living can hear and join the heretic warband of their choosing. I like the idea that some of these heretic warbands are minding their own business. They are obviously fighting, but they're maybe having a breather. They're having a moment of respite. They're getting themselves back together to go back in and do some more killing of the faithful. One of them looks round, and there is a headless dude singing a song right behind him who has just wandered up and gone, "You're my people, let's go." What? You'd probably get used to it after a while, but I'd imagine to a new convert, that would be a weird experience. As their severed heads sing their agonising hymns, the minds of their enemies are filled with visions from the pits of hell, weakening both the resolve and strength of those unfortunate enough to hear the dire song of a chorister. Their hymns are often the first thing a fresh recruit experiences on the battlefield as their unholy voice rolls across the trenches, proclaiming a never-ending prophecy of the final victory of hell over heaven. Given how long this war's been going on, it kind of does need to be a never-ending prophecy, because they might be saying final victory of hell over heaven, not actually happened yet. It's not actually occurred at this point. The great military hospice of New Antioch has a separate wing for those who have never recovered from hearing Choristers' dirge, their minds forever lost in a vision of eternal damnation, tied to their iron frame beds, screaming of the world to come when all is covered under the darkness, lit only by eternal flames. That sucks. That really sucks. I mean, it's really fun, but that is not a nice way to end up, is it? There is a chorister holding his head. I think he carved out his own eyes as well. Yeah, I think like the points of the pentagram are over the eyes. Ugh. All the like blood and veins, like blood vessels and stuff, making weird, unholy runes coming out of the neck is a really nice touch. The upside down cross is kind of fun as well. This is again, it's just very, very cool, very fun. Grim and horrible, but very fun. Okay, now we're on to some Cult of the Black Grail. Very nice. Well, not very nice. Absolutely atrocious and full of disease. But you know what I mean. Epidemics of typhus, malaria, typhoid, smallpox, yellow fever, pneumonia, trench fever, Marquesian disease, and countless others, I'm going to have to look that up later as well now, ravaged the trenches and battlefields of the Great War, but they all pale in comparison to the most dreaded of them all, the Black Grail. Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies, stands apart from... I don't know why I said it like that. Stands apart from the other Lords of Hell, who act mainly through their mortal followers. Instead, when he periodically gains supremacy in the bitter power struggles of the Archfiends, he sends forth his deadliest curse. Infused with demonic essence from the bowels of the seventh layer of Hell, where the putrid fortress of Beelzebub stands, spews forth a torrent of demonic hellflies, scorpions, locusts, and other infernal insects. So a little bit of like, swarm of locusts, plague of locusts, kind of biblical event going on. That's fun. The Hellgate opens and a veritable tidal wave of foulness emerges, following across the land at startling speed. It's like when all the clubs close in some of the UK's bigger cities. A tidal wave of foulness emerges, flowing across the land at startling speed, consuming everything and leaving indescribable horror in its wake. Yeah, kicking out time when the pub shuts. After 9 days, the insect swarm exhausts itself, devouring its own in its insatiable hunger. Oh, interesting. So it is actually it lasts for 9 days and then it burns itself out through just sheer intensity. That's kind of fun. The Black Grail is indiscriminate in its hatred of all living things. Same. Its infection... That's not true. Its infections can spread to virtually any living biological matter, which bursts forth with tumours, boils, and weeping pustules. Ugh. Puddles and ponds of melted flesh are left in its wake, endless mouths left screaming in their agony. For the Black Grail destroys the body but leaves the mind intact to suffer. Pretty bad. That's pretty bad. The scientists, priests of the church, and the alchemists of the Sultanate fervently look for a way to inoculate their people against this foulest of diseases, but thus far they are without success. Shocking. The only answer is to burn the infected settlements with specially constructed flamethrower tanks. Hell yeah, they said the magic word. That use holy anointing oil as the fuel for their weapons. I mean, if we're at the stage of like flamethrower tanks, it's gone from being like a quality, insanely good setting to a perfect setting. That's all you need. That's all you need to have the best setting. You just need to add tanks with flamethrowers. That's all it needs. But if this is not done, or the countermeasures are too late, what happens next is even worse. Bodies of men, horses, dogs, insects, and other animals of every kind that were infected by the Black Grail lurch to their feet, driven by a demonic will. Not living, not dead, they become vessels to spread the corruption of their master ever further, forming warbands that strive to find and infect life of any kind. That's very fun. I like the way they've done that, because one of the warbands that you can play in the game is the Cult of the Black Grail, which I've not really looked into that much. I've not properly dived into them, and that kind of answers the question of how their warbands work and what happens with them. So I like the idea that they kind of congregate and end up forming their own little warbands, their own little armies, and marching off to make everything awful for everything else they come across. So that's really fun. They gather things that mortals value and bring this loot as well as grisly trophies to the feet of the idols of Beelzebub they erect. Thus the Cult of the Black Grail mocks the devotions of the faithful and their prayers. Yeah, at the head of such warbands stand the Knights of the Order of the Fly, those most depraved men and women who willingly embrace the Black Grail and whose devotion Beelzebub finds sufficient. Only sufficient. I really like that. It's not like hugely impressive. Sufficient. That'll do. That's alright. Okay, I'll accept that. They are granted weapons, armour and equipment corrupted by the hand of the Archfiend in exchange for sacrifices brought to the altars of Beelzebub, which these warbands build wherever they go. Objects of grisly horror constructed from the remains of their victims, shaped into the form of monstrous flies. Nice. I think I know what this picture's going to be. Well, I was incorrect. That's not what I thought that was going to be. I thought that was going to be the big fly with the horrible gun that's got all gross stuff growing out of it. But no, that's not that. It does look very cool, though. What is that? Are we going to get an explanation? Possibly. It might be on the next page. Oh, there we go. There's the horrible fly. I think it's split across 2 pages by the look of things. That's going to make it a bit trickier, but no, it's fine. So the Heralds of Beelzebub, the polluting effect of the Black Grail, is the gift of Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies. I did it again. Spread by the insects bred by his own hand in the 7th layer of hell, it is a tidal wave of his foulness in the form of demonic vermin, septicemia, tainted insects, plague and impurities that pollute both body and soul. Entire villages and towns are turned into half-living slush that bubbles on the ground, an agony of melted flesh, quivering and crying at the multitudinous diseases granted by the Lord of the Flies. That is atrocious. That is absolutely horrible. Those caught by the Black Grail are still aware of the horrible fate that has befallen them. Specialised units of New Antioch and the Free State of Prussia. Now, I know they've been releasing some kind of little lore tidbits about the Free State of Prussia, so that's fun to see that mentioned, are dedicated to responding to these outbreaks with heavy flamethrower tanks using holy anointing oil as their fuel. But some victims of the Black Grail suffer a far worse fate. They are bestowed with the Black Honour by being melded with hellflies. Oh, hang on. They are bestowed with the Black Honour by being melded with hellflies, growing into a grotesque winged insect made of bloated flesh. I see. After this torturous metamorphosis, they take to the air as heralds of Beelzebub, the winged squires and scouts of the Order of the Fly. Their vestigial human bodies are still conscious as they are slowly eaten from within to be used as fuel by the herald, all while their warped bodies fight for the glory of hell against their will. Yep. Nice. That's okay. The heralds are the vanguard in any assault of the Black Grail, and the ear-numbing drone of their wings strikes terror in any defender, breaking their focus and sapping their willpower. Heralds wield discarded weapons contaminated with horrible worms that charge through them, which in turn infect their victims. Each diseased bullet has a sentient... This is one of those ones where it's like, you see it and you're like, well, that sounds bad, and then it just progressively gets worse and worse, but also a little bit more silly as it goes on. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. It started out already quite bad, right? The Heralds of Beelzebub, the big horrible flies with a gun, giganto disease fly with a gun. It's already not great. Then it's like, oh well, they're formed out of people. That's even worse. Oh, the people are still kind of conscious of what's happening. That's even worse. Oh, they also know that they're fighting for hell, which they don't want to do. That's even worse as well. Now the bullets are sentient? Each diseased bullet has sentience of its own, finding even the smallest chink in any armour, burrowing into the nervous system and liquefying the internal organs from within. It's just the Heralds of Beelzebub. And then it got worse, and that's just all you really need. That is ridiculous. Fun, but, still ridiculous. Good lord, I was not prepared for that. What? I already knew what these looked like because of the Adeptus Ridiculous episode and doing some research for that. But, this is so much more zoomed in than what we looked at on that day. So much more zoomed in. There's so much more detail right here. Ugh, gross. And just think, there's people in there. There's people in there, and they can feel it all, and they know what's happening, and they don't want anything to do with it. And also, you can see that the neck is kind of, split open, and it's still, grim. Grim and awful. Okay, Plague Knight. When the tide of Black Grail comes, many mortals cry out to Beelzebub in their despair, hoping that the Lord of the Flies would spare them in exchange for worship and servitude. I was going to say, I bet that does not go down as well as they're hoping, but their prayers fall on deaf ears, for the Prince of Gehenna hates all of creation and only wishes to warp it into a form pleasing to him and hateful to God. It makes sense. It makes sense. But there are few mortals, exceedingly rare, who truly share the vision of Beelzebub. I mean, we were talking earlier about how hell has access to all the wrong-uns to teach the Death Commandos. There's still plenty of wrong-uns out there in the world. There are still plenty of complete and utter wrong-uns. There's a supply of them that you would hope there wouldn't be, because it's hell, and surely that's not what you want to be affiliated with. And yet, some of them actually want what Beelzebub is offering. I mean, it's a similar thing with the whole 40k thing as well, where it's like, you've seen what this is, right? You've seen what this looks like. You've heard the stories. Why? This feels like that. But, you know, there's always people who want to be contrarian. And this, I guess, is the ultimate contrarian move. I mean, maybe the Choristers are actually the ultimate contrarian move. This one isn't far off, though. So there are few mortals, exceedingly rare, who truly share the vision of Beelzebub and wish the world to end in a putrid, parasite-infested man. I mean, yeah, but why would you? What is wrong with you? Get therapy. Just go to therapy. You don't need to wish the world to end in a putrid, parasite-infested mass, okay? Go and talk to someone. Jesus Christ. Literally. Eternally writhing in the throes of the endless plagues bestowed upon them by the Black Grail. Just so off. Many of them are secret and highly skilled killers. Shocking. Men and women whose pleasure is to murder repeatedly, plying their craft in secret, wishing one day to do it openly. See? Wrong-uns. What did I tell you? From amongst such twisted individuals, the most depraved are inducted into the ranks of the unholy Order of the Fly, known as Plague Knights. When the Black Grail comes, they come out calmly and welcome the wave of corruption, not consumed by it, but rather warped into a cadaver-like creature halfway between life and death. So, no, I can't use that joke again. They retain sentience, intelligence, not same, and a dim memory of their past lives, making them extremely useful at leading the Black Grail into the isolated farmsteads and remote settlements that might otherwise escape the clutches of Beelzebub. The more living creatures a Plague Knight can find and walk beyond recognition, the higher they will climb in the ranks of the Order of the Fly, and the greater the favour they will find in the eyes of Beelzebub. So it is literally who can be the worst person, who can be the absolute worst of the worst. The more horrific and horrible you are, just as a human being, the better you'll do. It's just like capitalism. No, I'm in 55. That might get cut out. If this bit stays in, it's because I've made a questionable decision and leaving it in, but whatever. It's a joke. Chill out. Amongst their rank, there are 12 Plague Knights of great renown, made in mockery of Paladins of the Church, which we know currently there are 9 of. I think there was 2 dead and 1 maybe traitorous, we're not sure. They dwell within Ekron, the city of Beelzebub, a place of such wilting horror that none dare to approach it, not even the mightiest of heretic lords, but sometimes the orders of their lord come to their ears, and then the mightiest of Plague Knights strike forth, following orders carried out by the deafening buzz of trillions of beating wings of hellflies. Nice. Okay, oh, look at that. Look at that. It's so cool. It's such a good look. It's such a good look. I really like the armour. The armour's fantastic. The way that it's kind of pitted and scored. The big, like, what is the name of it? The big thing that, like, comes out of the... Is it like a proboscis? The thing that comes out of the face of an insect, of like a fly and stuff. I think that's what it's called. Also, those long kind of tendrils of horror coming out of it as well. Plus, you've got to have a cloak. Doesn't matter who you are. You've got to have a cloak. You wear an armour like that, you need a cloak, okay? You've got to have the look. Also, little things, like the legs, the feet, they've got like little sort of clawed ends. I like that little detail. That's very fun. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, they do look good. Except when it comes to the models for the Cult of the Black Plague. You've got, like, these guys, and then everyone else is just a shambling mass of tumours. So it's like, I'm loving the aesthetic of this knight. Let's take a look at who he's leading. And then it's just, oh, it's a lump on legs with a dog's face. And don't get me wrong, I love it. But I think I would also like to see a few more things that have got a bit more of that kind of armoured feel. Just because I really like the kind of, I guess, like, FromSoft armoured aesthetic, where they kind of exaggerate stuff. Because there are, like, there's like a little bit of that going on here. Which, to be fair, like dark fantasy, it's its own whole genre. But yeah, it is kind of funny where it's like, oh, I love this guy. Let's see the lads that follow him around, and it is just a big mound of flesh with 4 legs, a dude's head, and then 8 guns sticking out of its stomach, and it's like, okay, right, well, I guess it's just this guy who's got the sweet end of the deal, so to speak. And even then, is it really the sweet end of the deal? Look at him. I mean, for them, actually, I say that, clearly is the sweet end of the deal. They wanted this. They are actively pushing for the whole world to be a diseased mass of flesh screaming eternally in pain. For some reason. But, you know, that's what they're after. So clearly they are getting kind of what they want, sort of. Sort of. Yeah. They shouldn't get what they want. I think that's the main key, like, core part. They shouldn't get what they want. That's not on. Okay, right, we're on to the Iron Sultanate. Oh, wow. It's been another half an hour. I forget how quickly we get, like, time just disappears reading through this stuff. Because it's all fresh, relatively new. Obviously, with doing the Adeptus Ridiculous episode, I did look into some other stuff for it. Trying to condense down, like, Trench Crusade as a setting into an hour really was kind of difficult because there's just a lot of it. Even now there's a lot of it, and that's before they've done like huge expansions to the lore, and there's lots of extra stuff that's outside the lore sampler, and there's little things here and there in the rules document, and yeah, it was kind of tricky, which also is why that episode wasn't an hour long. That was an hour and a half, and even then there's plenty of space to do more, because God knows there's enough to talk about between just the general information of each faction and then the actual units within it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to Trench Crusade in a very, very fun way. So, okay, we're going to call it there. We will come back next time to talk about the Iron Sultanate, which I'm super looking forward to going through, because that's one of the ones where I don't know a huge amount. I've just seen a little bit here and there. And, yeah, we're also going to do a few more other videos. Like, a few more other videos. Terrible English. So, I've kind of got a plan for a few different things to do with Trench Crusade. Obviously, we've got this series where we're just kind of going through the lore primer, but I was thinking of doing a few more that are just super condensed, like not as rambly, just here is the information, here is like how this works, here's how this faction works, making it more approachable and less half an hour's worth of reading aloud and rambling about it. So yeah, there's probably going to be more stuff, and it won't be quite as big a gap between the last video and this one when it comes to Trench Crusade, because again, I don't really know what happened there, but it won't happen again, hopefully, fingers crossed, unless like get like crashed into on the way home or something. We should be good to actually do some more of this consistently now. So there you go. That was the rest of the Heretic stuff and the Cult of the Black Grail. Next time we will take a look at the Iron Sultanate and whatever comes after that, which I'm not sure. So yeah, we will do that. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed this one again, and whether you want me to continue doing these, or whether you prefer to have just the more condensed things and kind of trim them down a bit more and make them a bit more, I don't know, a bit more snappy and a bit less rambly. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, and I will see you for the next one.